Dodge dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. By Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese conies. On the banks of the Ohio, some thunderstorms in and around the Queen City area today, but just a chance of a sprinkle or two tonight. We should be okay for baseball. Temperature and humidity right about in the mid-70s, and we're ready for game one of this 3-game sit. And the Reds, Chris, if you got it working, don't change the karma. Jay Bruce has exchanged the lineup cards for all 4 of these wins. He's starting to look like a manager too, isn't he?
Well, it's a little early to be pushing him into that slot. I'm sure he'd rather be out there with a glove in his hand and a bat every once in a while. But, you know, he's a great young man, and you get to do a few things when you're on the disabled list that you don't normally do. And you get to do a few things when you win that you don't do when you lose either. And I think that's what the Reds would love to take right here. They had a tough time with the Colorado Rockies when they came through town. But on the way out, the Rockies and the Giants both said, hey, you could help us a lot if you could take care of the Dodgers through their turn in Cincinnati. And that's what the Reds hope to do in this 3-game series.
Dusty believes in karma, so he's had Jay Bruce take out the lineup card. Let's check the lineup card for Joe Torre and the Dodgers. Rafael Furcal, he's killed the Reds in his career, over 300. He's in the leadoff spot. Matt Kemp, so is he. He's hit over 300 against the Reds. And oh, by the way, only 2 hitters in his whole lineup have hit under 300 against the Reds in their career. Manny Ramirez in his career, .413 against Cincinnati pitching. Casey Blake's back at third. James Loney. Good defense, good offense too. Russell Martin will be your catcher, hit in the 7th spot. How about this? Orlando Hudson hitting in the 8th spot in a .292 average. Chad Billingsley, the Defiance, Ohio native, will be the pitcher. He's no slouch either. He's hitting over 200 on the season. That is your U.S. Bank starting lineup. And here is Homer.
Well, Homer Bailey trying to get that earned run average down, and it did come down a little bit. 7 innings of 4-hit baseball his last time out. That was on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And if he pitches anywhere like he did then, don't say that it's the Pirates and that he's going to be different against the Dodgers, because his stuff is so good when he gets it over where he wants to that he can neutralize even good offenses. But the challenge for Homer is to stay within himself, don't get all worked up, keep the ball down, and pitch against this Dodger team just like it's any other team out there.
Well, here's Rafi for Kyle, the switch hitting shortstop. Last year bothered by a bad back and a bad ankle. This year he's solid at .253, 6 homers, 36 knocked in. And in his career, we talked about over 300. He has more homers against the Reds than he has against any team that he's faced. 12 homers and 39 knocked in. This guy overall in his career, the switch hitter, in fact, is better from the right side than the left side. Somewhat unlikely for this man who came up as a second baseman in the Atlanta organization, and they moved him to short. He'll be followed by Kemp and then Ethier. And tied at third is Rowland. Big swing and a pop up into short left field over his Ballantine. Vladimir's there. He's got it. And there's one away. There's your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. Cincinnati comes in the league with 78 errors on the season and 13th in the league. Ballantine, Stubbs, and Gomes in the outfield. Rowland at third. Gold Glove winner, you know. Giannis and Phillips, the double play combo. Brandon won the Gold Glove last year. Joey Votto at first. Corky Miller back behind the plate catching Homer Bailey. That's your 4 defensive alignment. One away, and here's Kemp. Another one of the heavy hitting Los Angelinos. He's in at .313. 19 homers and 80 knocked in now. And a career .306 average against Cincinnati. Kemp in his career has faced Bailey once. He's 1 for 1 and a homer against Homer. This is a pretty solid lineup, Chris. They're first in the National League in average with a .274 average. That compares to the Reds, who are 15th. Andre Ethier hits third, and really Albert Pujols is the front runner, but you got to think Ethier's a candidate for MVP with the year that he's had.
Well, you know, he's had an awful lot of home runs, that's for certain. 27 of them overall. He's driven in 87 runs, and he's having the kind of year that, you know, you worry about when you're a pitcher. This Dodger ball club, though, is very well balanced offensively. They don't just look to 1 or 2 players to put the runs on the board. There are not a lot of easy outs up and down the lineup.
Votto can't get there. It's a fair ball, and it'll be a single for Matt Kemp. Good pitch, but bad result. Joey had a long way to come, couldn't get there, so it'll go as a bloop single.
Well, But he really comes inside and jams him right there, and that's kind of a carving swing right there that Matt Kemp puts on it. But he gets the benefit of getting it over the first baseman's head right on the line. Don't forget about him at first base. 27 stolen bases out of Kemp.
This is a team that will run at different spots of the lineup too. You think of Furcal, but he no longer runs the way he used to. But you know, Kemp will run. They'll have a sneak attack from deep in the lineup too. And you know about Juan Pierre, when he's in the lineup, he always is a threat to run. Pierre is sitting tonight. So 1 out, 1 on, and here is Ethier. Had another 2-home run game this week on Wednesday. That's 6 multi-homer games this year. He's within 1. There is Pierre, who was in the lineup for Manny Ramirez in left during the 50-game suspension that Manny served for performance-enhancing drug violations. Ethier sitting on 27 homers and 87 knocked in on the season. Against the Reds, 322 in his career. And as you might imagine, this Dodger team with this kind of a lineup, there are his last 10-game numbers, including the 3 homers. He's been the walk-off king of the world. He's had 5 walk-off hits, sometimes a homer, sometimes a single, but he's done it every time the Dodgers have needed it late in the ball game, in the 9th inning or the 10th or extra innings. 1 ball, no strikes. Runner going, got a shot at him. It will not be in time. .28 for Kemp. He's in scoring position with 1 away.
Well, talking to the Dodger coaches before the ball game, they were relieved to know that Ryan Hanigan was not in the lineup, because they thought that Hanigan threw the ball from home to second just about as well as anybody they've seen all year. And that throw by Corky Miller wasn't much behind him. An excellent effort by Miller, but you know, it really comes down to how well the pitcher holds the runner, and that time, unfortunately, Homer, with the big deliberate delivery to the plate, gives the runner an advantage.
1 ball, 1 strike. Runner off second. They'll go down to second. Fortunately for Bailey, the ball hit Kemp in the ribs, or else it would have ended up in center field.
That's where you want to miss. I mean, there's no reason to fire that ball high to second base. If you're going to miss it, go ahead and throw it right at the runner.
Either at the plate or out there. It's a good spot, huh? You see Kemp somewhat uncomfortable as that ball drilled him in the right side of the rib cage. Here's the 1-1 to Ethier. Home plate umpire tonight is Chuck Merriweather. Laz Diaz is down at first. Eric Cooper's your second base umpire. Mike Riley, the crew chief, is down at third. Into left field, it's catchable. Ballantine there. Kemp will go halfway, then retreat to second. So there's 2 away, and here comes Manny. Ramirez's numbers still pretty good offensively at .308, 13 homers, 46. But what you expect from number 99 hasn't been there since he came back from the suspension, Chris. He's not homering against the Reds. You see the 2 homers. One of them was that pinch hit, grand slam that, I mean, that Dodger Stadium was rocking as much as we've ever seen it or felt it when he hit that against the Reds.
You know, I think he was really boosted by the energy that was in Dodger Stadium that night, and a lot of people asked why Nick Masset threw the ball down to the center of the plate, but it really didn't matter. I mean, he was going to do something heroic that night just based on the energy in that ball field. I've never been around something like that without it being a playoff. It
was Manny Ramirez bobblehead night, and boy, did he bobble some heads. A grand slam of the pinch hit variety.
Well, you know, you've got a base open right here, and yes, you have Casey Blake on deck, but he does nowhere near the kind of damage offensively that Manny Ramirez does. So there's no reason, if you fall behind in the count, that you should feel compelled to try to get Manny Ramirez out.
Miller wants it up and in, and that's foul back.
Great spot right there. If you're going to miss against Manny, miss off the plate.
But if you miss there and you make a mistake, look out.
Well, your target when Manny sets up is really right in here somewhere, and if you can do that, you're going to keep that fat part of the bat off the ball. When he sets up, what your target is right underneath his left elbow. and you really disregard where the catcher puts his glove. You want to even come in more than what he shows you.
6 straight games without an extra base hit, 14 games without a home run for Manny. Against the Reds, some big time numbers. It started at his years in Cleveland. He was a pain in the neck to the Reds back then. His career numbers: .413, 9 homers, 26 knocked in against Cincinnati. Since he came back from the suspended list, he's at .286. There you see his career numbers against the Reds. And of the 13 home runs that he has, 7 of those have come since the end of the suspension. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Wants it up, and he got it up. Good spot. He went back to that same spot again, Chris, and he cashed it in. Dodgers don't score in the first. For the Reds, that's a victory. Can do some work. Let's check our U.S. Bank starting lineup for Dusty and the Reds. Drew Stubbs 5 for 28 on the road trip. He's the leadoff hitter. Paul Janisch had 8 hits on the trip. And how about Joey Votto on the trip? 8 for 24. Against the Dodgers, 354 is Brandon Phillips and 4 home runs. Scott Rowland behind him. Rowland had a great road trip, 7 hits and 19 at bats. Valentine, Gomes, Corky Miller, and Homer Bailey. That's 1 through 9. Your U.S. Bank starting lineup for the Reds. And here's the native of Ohio, Chad Billingsley.
Well, Northern Ohio, Defiance is where Chad Billingsley calls home. 12-7 overall on the year. He's got an earned run average, still a very tidy 3.7. He is an innings eater and a strikeout pitcher. Nearly 150 strikeouts in 161 innings. So when this guy has his curveball working, and that is his major go-to pitch, it's almost an unhittable type of curveball. Coming off an outing his last time against the Cardinals that they reached him for 3 runs in 6 innings. Maybe the Reds can do some damage.
4-game win streak for the Reds. 4-game hitting streak for Drew Stubbs. Double, run batted in, couple of runs scored as he faced Billingsley for the first time. Drew, 24 years of age, won't turn 25 until October. Native of Texas. The Reds center fielder was a first-round pick, the 8th player overall in the June 2006 draft, and Billingsley was a first-round pick of the Dodgers back in 2003. So 3 years separated these 2 first-rounders squaring off against each other at Great American Ballpark. See his numbers: 3-1 and a 1.40 earned run average against Cincinnati. That's a little low. Drew will be followed by Janisch and then Votto as the Reds try to get off to an early lead. And all year long the story's been the same: when the Reds score early and get a lead early, it translates into wins. More often than not, when they were in their worst stretch of the year, the Reds were not just outscored in the first, but outscored measurably, and that is no more evident than against these kinds of teams like the Dodgers. 3-2. Line drive, center field. In his tracks is Kemp. He'll haul it in. 1 away. Here's your 4 defensive alignment for the Dodgers. Dodgers have been 1, 2, or 3 in defense all year. They come in with only 59 errors. That's 19 fewer than the Reds. They're second in the league right now. Ramirez, offensively outstanding, defensively challenged in left. Kemp and Ethier solid in center and right. Blake always solid at third. For Kyle, one of the best arms in baseball. Hudson, a 3-time Gold Glove winner, and Loney with that wide, expansive stretch at first. And Martin behind the plate. That is your 4 defensive alignment for the Dodgers. Here's Janisch. Pretty good road trip for Paul, 8 for 26. The average up to 224. Slice down the right field line. Ethier going over in the corner. He'll haul it in. Long run for Andre, but those long looping strides. He was a center fielder in the minor leagues in the Texas League for a while. Traded from Oakland to the Dodgers, and he was really the hard work effort of former Atlanta and Toronto scout Al Lamacchia, who's stationed down in the Texas League right now. He watched him his first year in the Texas League, told the Dodgers, if you can go get this guy, go get him. He's going to be a star. He said he can play center field okay, but he can play a great right field, and that's exactly what Ethier's done. Well, Votto bounces out. It's a quick 1-2-3 for Billingsley. Bailey back to the mound. Blake will lead it off. Career in August. 12 games, a 2-0 record, 1.69 earned run average, and he pitched great back-to-back in Milwaukee 2 nights when the Reds needed it. Daniel Ray, the little guy with the screwball, has been twisting the batters in the wind for the better part of the month of August. Our Elk and Elk storyline is brought to you by Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. There's Casey Blake. Blake always solid, 278, 16 homers, 70 knocked in, and everybody made a lot of news last year, Chris, and they all talked about Manny Ramirez being the guy that really gave the Dodgers that second half infusion. But Joe Torre told you, he told me that this guy was as much an important part of that as anybody.
Well, you need those unsung guys, the guys that just come out and play every day. They don't grab the headlines, they don't hit the mammoth home runs, but they're there when you need them. And Casey Blake has always been that kind of a player.
Bounces out to Roland, 1 away, and here comes James Loney. It is baseball night in Cincinnati. It's also Bengal night. Good night to have a little ice cream too, huh?
Well, you know what? If you're a big guy like Tank Johnson, you know you're going to need more than maybe just one that little. But this is a night in which they're filming a little bit of the HBO Hard Knock series. Tank Johnson and Roy Williams, a couple of free agent signees the Bengals brought into camp, are here to watch the Dodgers and the Reds go at it.
Roy played a little baseball, so maybe he can get some hard knocks for the Reds on this night too.
I think I'd want Tank behind the plate.
Hey, Anthony Munoz was a catcher at one time in college. One of the, we talk so often about the greats who walk around downtown Cincinnati. We talked with Dave Parker. We were in Pittsburgh. Great to see him walking around. Great to see Oscar Robertson from time to time. Great to see Anthony from time to time. What a proud citizen of this city, and he's done Cincinnati so proud, not just as a football player but as a man and his family too.
He's an icon, and if you want to see him more than time to time, you need to show up on the golf course.
That's it. 2 balls, no strikes to Loney. Votto will take it, and quickly there's 2 outs, and that'll bring up Russell Martin.
You know, if you're taking an early observation on Homer Bailey, what you see is a guy that is throwing the ball, 93 to 95 miles an hour. That's instead of 96 to 98 miles an hour. So he's staying back a little bit. Talked to Dick Pohl about what they've tried to work on with Homer Bailey, and it's very simple, just trying to repeat his delivery. He goes through series of, when it feels real good for an inning and then it really goes bad for an inning. Right now he's just trying to stay back, stay calm, and he's pitching very well because of that.
Martin in at 257 against the Reds 317. And I really, we talked a little bit about it. We were in Pittsburgh the night before he pitched in Pittsburgh, then the day that he pitched. Here's Martin digging in, the 1-strike delivery. It's like he relished the opportunity to be a stopper as the Reds, they'd lost 5th place. The Pirates had taken over 5th place from the Reds, and he said, well, this is my chance to make a name for myself, to stamp myself as somebody that the team can rely upon. He looked like a different pitcher there, and he's starting off the same way here tonight.
Well, and for Homer Bailey, it's battling the demons between the ears, because it's never about stuff with him. It's about controlling his emotion out there. And what happens with most pitchers, you get all excited, you get your adrenaline flowing, you want to throw harder than you can really throw, and all of a sudden your mechanics start breaking down on you.
Line drive to right. Here comes Gomes, and he holds on. Johnny be good. Gomes gloves it. 1, 2, 3 for Homer. To the bottom of 2. Phillips, Roland, Valentine due up. From Great American Ballpark, Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, and fun. That's JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep, the summer clearance is here for Jeep. Get to your Jeep dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. Great to have you with us at Great American Ballpark. Game 1 of a 3-game weekend series with Joe Torre and the Dodgers, the team in first place in the West. George Grant, Chris Welsh up here in the booth. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro down with Reds Live pre and post. Center field, Kemp on his horse. He'll flag it down a step in front of the warning track, and there's 1 away. He can go get them, and this is a much improved defensive team over the last couple of years as well. I think, Chris, if you look at, I mean, the offense speaks for itself, but what Joe Torre has done, he realized he had to get better defensively, and even more importantly, if you walk through the Dodger clubhouse, it's more cohesive than it's been in a long time. There's Joe and his bench coach Bobby Schaefer. Torre's done that every place he's been, whether it was Atlanta, St. Louis, the Yankees, or now here in Los Angeles too.
Well, he's going to find out, as every outfielder that comes around here, that this is a lot easier outfield to play at Great American Ballpark than many of the parks that they play at in the National League West. It's smaller here. There's not as far to go, and you know, it's all about offense. And this Dodger team, they bring in some pretty good offense. Joe Torre has always had a very balanced ball club. Obviously, when he's been with the New York Yankees, they've been balanced and beating up on people for years and years. And they brought some offense here to town this weekend.
69 years of age now, just turned 69 about a month ago. 28 years as a manager, one of the winningest managers of all time. Hey, he was Hall of Fame caliber as a player. He won the Most Valuable Player award. He hit nearly 300, but he's going to the Hall of Fame as a manager, no doubt about that. Great handler of men and a guy who understands the game of baseball inside and out. And when he comes to Cincinnati, he comes to his wife Allie's hometown. Allie, her family from Cincinnati, so Joe, you know, usually you talk about players needing tickets. Joe needed a bunch of them for Allie and the brothers when they come to town. What a special person. Line drive. Is it caught in the air? On the ground. It's a short hop, and they'll get the out at first.
Out or not, that's a pretty good sign for Reds fans, because Scott Rowland is swinging the bat better and better, it seems like, with every game. They missed a lot when he was out with a concussion, but he's come back swinging the bat, and this is a line drive picked nicely down to the other end by Casey Blake. That ball one-hopped him. He comes up and makes a nice play out of it. The Reds, by the way, are 6-0 when Scott Rowland is in the lineup. So when he's not around, they certainly miss him.
2 away, and here's Ballantine. And that's just not the offense, it's the defense and his presence too. Big swing by Vladimir. Ballantine at 255, a homer and 6 knocked in. Dodgers with a 3-0 record against the Reds this year, and even here at Great American Ballpark, they're 13-7 against the Reds. And Chris, seems like forever the last time the Reds beat the Dodgers.
Well, it does seem like forever. I mean, after all, it's been a long time. Dusty Bakers knows exactly how long it's been. Dodgers came in here having won 2 straight, and they've beaten them 8-1. In fact, the last time the Reds beat the Dodgers was April 2008 right here at Great American Ballpark. So nearly 2 seasons.
One ball, 2 strikes. That just misses down and away with Johnny Gomes on deck. The Reds come in tonight at home at Great American Ballpark 26-35, and on the road 29-36. Right field towards the corner, curving. It'll be one hop against the wall. Ballantine around first. The throw to second won't be in time. It's a 2-base hit for Ballantine, his 3rd as a Red. And don't forget tonight, see this beautiful brand new Toyota Tundra that's way up in the left center field. If a Reds player hits the Tundra or the sign during tonight's game, Charles Filer of Batavia, Ohio is going to win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. And if you notice the flags here at Great American Ballpark at half staff, the scoreboard tribute today just before the game. Hope you were with us on Reds Live before the game to commemorate the life of William J. Williams Sr., the former owner of the Reds, who died on Sunday. He's the father of Reds chairman Joe Williams, vice chairman and treasurer Tom Williams, and the grandfather of vice president of baseball operations Dick Williams. And And Chris, over the years, having to watch him and get to know him, what a powerful person. That'll get away from the catcher Martin, go all the way to the backstop, and Valentine will go to third with 2 outs. That'll skirt all the way to the backstop. But Mr. Williams was just a special person who loved the city of Cincinnati. He loved baseball, and he sure loved the Reds.
Well, the Reds wouldn't be where they are, George, I think, as far as the tradition that they've had over the last 30 years without the contributions of William Williams and the Williams family, the granddaddy of them all.
Great thoughts, great memories, and as we've talked about this week, our condolences to the entire Williams family. Missing inside. 2 balls and 1 strike to Johnny.
Well, you know that Billingsley would love to get to a count where he can use his curveball. He made Vladimir Valentine look very bad on the curveball that he threw him. Came back with a fastball. Valentine laced it down the right field line. Johnny Gomes, also a very good fastball hitter. Looking for one right here.
Towards the hole. That'll get a run in. A base hit for Johnny, his 39th, and he continues his hot hitting. Last 10 games, he's now over 350. And one of the guys who had a good road trip, he was nearly 500. He was over 400 at 6 for 15.
Well, he got a breaking ball, but it looks like more of a slider. Looks at this point that is his curveball. Billingsley's overthrowing it just a little bit. He gets it up. Johnny Gomes speeds his bat up and finds a 2-out ribeye waiting for him in that 5.5 hole between third and short.
In all probability, Valentine would have scored, but there's no doubt with him at third. At second, in probability, he most likely would have scored, but there was no doubt with him sitting at third. So the Reds lead it 1-0. And here's Corky. What a comeback for the former and now current Reds catcher. Came up through the minor leagues with Cincinnati, a non-drafted free agent. Always known for great play calling and defensive capabilities, but he's hitting. He's in at 375. A couple of runs batted in. He helped the Reds win Game 1 in Milwaukee. And Chris, we've watched him over the years. We watched him at AAA. We watched him come up to the big club. We watched him on other teams. One thing that has never failed him, that's his ability to call a game and his ability to communicate with his pitchers.
That's why he's etched himself out of major league career. Not for every position on the team does it all come down to offense. I mean, you got to have some guys that are good gloves. And sometimes that comes good glove, no hit, but you still have to have them. You have to play some defense somewhere, and Corky Miller is a very good catcher. He's a veteran guy that he just knows how to set up hitters and call pitches and work with a lot of different pitchers.
The irony of the catching situation for the Reds in the 90s is somewhat strange, because the Reds had Danny Wilson. They traded him away. They had Jason LaRue, Paul Bacco, Corky Miller, all solid defensive catchers, and most of them wound up someplace else. Two balls, 2 strikes. Trying to slice it to the right side. He fouls it off again. The count stays at 2-2.
You would think on a nice humid night, and it's not really all that hot, this is a pretty good night to pitch here at Great American Ballpark. You get a little lather going and just warm it up to break a sweat, but it also has enough humidity to be able to get your curveball, have good bite on it. But I go back to saying that Billingsley looks like he's overthrowing it a little bit, really not snapping it off, but throwing it with too much velocity. And sometimes pitchers do that, especially early in the ball game. He's had a history of having problems in the first inning. He usually settles down very nicely innings after that, but Reds are trying to get some business done here when you can, because it doesn't often come against a pitcher his caliber.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And we mentioned it when we were in Los Angeles. The biggest question was, would the Dodgers be able to get another starting pitcher to bolster what was a good staff, but a staff that needed to be filled out? And it's still the same question that Joe Torre has as he goes into the final month of the season. The Dodger bullpen is throwing more innings than all but one team in the National League, the Padres. That is a nailed at second. I think that was
a delayed steal attempt.
Yeah, I thought it was a strike, but it was not a strike at the plate. It's a caught stealing at second. So Gomes is out. The inning is over. Our Geico quote of the day, it comes from Derek Jeter, the captain of the Yankees, a man who he's very close with. He's always the same. That's the reason he's so successful. He relays that to us in good times, bad times, or whatever. He's got the perfect mentality for a manager. And he called people, Chris, player managers, and he is, because, and not that he always sides with the players. He'll take a player into his office and dress them down if need be, but he understands what players go through, and that's certainly a part of his success. Our Geico quote of the day comes from Derek Jeter. Here's Orlando Hudson. Hudson in the 8th spot. Billingsley will follow. Now, some guys you think back of so many moments and you watch him, and in Joe Torre's case, I'll never forget in '96 when the Braves won the first 2 games and looked horrible. The Yankees looked horrible after losing at Yankee Stadium. Here's a bouncer down to second, and I walked into Torre's office, and it looked like they were on the way to a quick exit from the World Series. And he was kind of sitting at his desk. He looked up. He says, "Well, we'll go to Atlanta. We can't do any worse than we did here, can we?" And what did they do? They came back to win it. He's been there. He's done that, and he's doing it again in L.A. Bob Schaefer next to him. Schaefer, a long-time baseball man, scout, front office operative, third base coach, bench coach. He's been in Kansas City, Baltimore, Boston, Atlanta. I remember when Schaefer first took over for Torre last year and we played them for the first time. I asked Bob, I said, "How you doing?" And before he had a chance to answer, Joe looked at him. He says, "Well, he's finally realizing that every time I yell at him, it's not personal."
That's a good thing to know.
Yeah. What a great baseball guy that man is. And capable of being a manager in his own right. Here's Billingsley in at 213. You know, Chris, some people will have a bench coach and never use him. Other people have a bench coach and will draw from them, and that's one thing that Torre's always done.
Well, you know, that's why you have a bench coach. I mean, it's awfully tough for a manager to do everything, even running a ball game by yourself.
There's Spire flashing defensive signs. There's a shot down to Votto. He'll double dribble it, but will glove it and get the second out of the inning. Hey, when the Reds get it done with a run batted in this season, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. 25 in the till so far tonight. They lead it 1-0.
Well, right now, Homer Bailey is making that one-run hold up because he's hitting his corners. If you watch him pitch tonight, he has been consistently on the edges of the plate. Mainly on that outside corner to right-handers, on that third base side of the plate to left-handers.
Here's the leadoff hitter, Rafael Furcal. He flared a fly ball to left first time up. Furcal was the spark plug of the Dodgers as their leadoff hitter, and when healthy, he's done the same thing here in Los Angeles. With all the talent the Dodgers have had, it's hard to believe, and it's hard to remember at times, that it's been since '95 and '96 that the Dodgers made the postseason in back-to-back years. That's what Torre's trying to get them to do this year. Furcal strikes out. How about Homer? He's rolling along. 2 straight 1-2-3 innings. Homer's due up second when we return. Saturday afternoons made for baseball. This week Fox brings you the national game of the week. Manny Ramirez and the NL West leading Dodgers take on Joey Votto and your Reds. Fox Saturday baseball this week at 4 right here on Fox. Tom Brennan will be doing that game, and Eric Karros, Eric the K, will be sitting alongside of him with him. Should be entertaining. Hope you get a chance to watch it. We'll be back, of course, with the Reds and the Dodgers in the final game of the series on Sunday. Here's Corky, who was at the plate when Gomes was tossed out trying to steal. That's inside for ball 1.
Hey, looking back on that attempted stolen base by Johnny Gomes, we looked at it between innings, and it has to be that he must have just misread the count. It was a 2-2 count with 2 outs. Maybe Johnny Gomes thought it was 3-2 with 2 outs, because if you look at him coming off first base, he goes back to first base before he makes his move to second. And I got to figure that that's not the way you do a delayed steal. That's certainly not the way you do a straight steal. They wouldn't be straight stealing Johnny Gomes anyway. So must have been just one of those deals where he forgot what count it was.
Kind of a bizarre play too, because it looked like it was strike 3 on the 2-2 pitch. Chuck Merriweather lifted his left shoulder, didn't call it. Corky Miller kind of stood there, and whether he was surprised that Gomes was running or surprised at the call, either way. So here's Corky back at the plate, a ball and 2 strikes. One final today, the Cubs 5-2 winners over the Mets. Greg gets the win. He's 5-5 on the season now. Tonight, San Diego 6 and Florida 1. They're in the second. Philadelphia leads Atlanta 1-0, but it's raining in Philly. And everything else still to come. There's an art to that, isn't it? Trying to stick the arm out. He almost did. He's been hit 179 times.
He first thought it was a fastball and tried to get out of the way. Then he realized it was a curveball and then tried to get in the way.
He's hanging in there.
All right, here's the pitch we're talking about. The breaking ball right here. He first reads as a fastball, bails out, and then he tries to kind of lean into it a little bit, but you can't make it that obvious. Plus, it would have got you right on the elbow, too.
That's how you get hit 179 times in your career. There's an art to it. I mean, you don't want to be coming towards the ball. You want to let it glance off you. 3-2. That's ball 4. So leadoff walk. Here comes Homer. Dodgers will be expecting a sacrifice. Here's the National League West standings, our Honda standings update, and the Dodgers are 76 and 52. When the Reds played them last, they were 61 and 34. They were 27 games over 500. That was in July. Since then, they are 15 and 18. So what does that mean? Colorado's closed the gap. The Rockies had gotten to within 2 after the Dodgers took the final 2 of that series. It's now a 4-game lead, but this is a different Dodger team than what we saw when we were in L.A., Chris.
Oh, it is. They're a team that suddenly is hearing some footsteps behind them. They did take care of business against the Rockies, but there is a lot of baseball yet to be played. I mean, if you go with talent on paper, the Dodgers have it.
4th sacrifice bunt for Homer. He laid down a beauty in Pittsburgh, and there's a nice one right there, so that puts a runner in scoring position.
But you have to play the games out, and they were very impressed with especially the pitching that the Colorado Rockies showed them. And the Rockies, if they get Aaron Cook back and throwing the ball healthy, then they're certainly a team that can put on a run here in the last month of the season.
It's somewhat ironic. I mean, one of the keys to the Rockies' success has been they've had solid starting pitching up until Aaron Cook was bumped from the rotation with his injury. They had started 123 of 126 games with one of their starting 5 pitchers in rotation. What a bad time for them to lose him just before the series with the Dodgers. Here's Stubbs, fly ball to center, first time up. There's your wild card story. San Francisco 3 back of the Rockies, and of course they meet each other. The Dodgers right now have at least statistically, have the schedule in their favor. They play 3 games here against the Reds, and then Joe Torre has 9 games against Arizona and San Diego. But sometimes those numbers can be deceiving. And they've got a pretty good schedule at the end of the season too. September and October. 2 balls, no strikes. Broken bat, right center, that'll drop. Here comes Miller around third. Here comes the throw by Kemp to the plate. It's going to be cut. He's going to be safe. Drew Stubbs gets his 3rd run batted in. A broken bat blooped to right center, so a good effort by Corky. Get him on, get him over, get him in. The walk, the bunt, and this hit.
Well, the key to that right there is what they call the secondary lead for Corky Miller. This is the second time he has done this here in just a couple of ball games. He did it very well in Milwaukee when he scored on a base hit. And the secondary lead is after you take your normal lead and that pitcher comes to his stretch position. That's when he bounces off a little bit more. And by creating that space between second base and him, it gives him a chance to come around and score. Not the fleetest of foot runners the Reds have, but he may be one of the better base runners, and the guy comes around to score a big run.
The 20 stolen base guy, Brandon Phillips, giving him a freeze frame of him running around third. Here's
Watch him bounding off right there. That's a secondary lead. You're anticipating a base hit or a ball getting by the catcher or something that will get you to advance, and you get your momentum going even before the ball is out of the infield. He's halfway to third.
Here comes Rick Honeycutt out to talk to Billingsley.
I mean, you don't have to be a fast runner to be a good base runner.
Yeah, and Chris, over the years, two guys who you would not they're giving Corky some grief, aren't they? You wouldn't think Sean Casey and Brett Boone were the fastest Reds when they were on the team, but those two guys had the best secondary leads of anybody on the team when they were there. Casey would work so hard to get that extra step and a half or 2 steps because he knew he wasn't fast enough to score on a hit, so he'd get in position. Exactly what Miller did.
Well, a trip to the mound by Rick Honeycutt trying to settle down his pitcher Chad Billingsley. Both RBI base hits on the night. The one by Johnny Gomes and the one by Drew Stubbs right there has come on the slider. And that's almost his 3rd or 4th best pitch.
Hit pretty good to left. Going back, Ramirez at the warning track. He's there and will haul it in for the second out. I thought Manny was supposed to get his hair trimmed a little bit. What happened? Manny didn't go to Fausto, did he?
All right, now he catches the ball and he's going to signal now how many outs there are. Oh, there are. He's got 2 outs. Okay, I thought he had only put his index finger up, but we got plenty of scoreboards here for Manny, and there are 2 outs.
There goes the runner. Here comes the throw. It will not be in time. That's a stolen base for Drew. 46 of those down at AAA. There's his first as a major leaguer, and there'll be a bunch of them. Named the #1 base runner and stolen base operative in the league when he was at AAA. And that's been true all the way through from high school into college at the University of Texas. Great speed. Swing and a miss by Joey. Votto bounced to second first time up. Right center on a line. It's going to be 2 hops to the warning track. That'll get another run in. Votto will have his 65th run batted in. He'll pick up his 20th double as well. So Votto delivers. Joey continues to be the #1 hitter for the Reds. One of 4 Reds over 300 with runners in scoring position. You get him there, Chris, he gets him in.
Yeah, Billingsley trying to come inside with a little bit of a cutter, maybe a slider right there, but boy, he did not get it inside. You leave it out over inner third instead of off the plate, and that's what happens. You get a rocket in the alley, and Joey Votto picks up his 20th double of the year.
20 doubles, 20 homers. And of his 65 runs batted in, Chris, almost half of those come with 2 outs. That's important. Pop up down the line. It is bobbled, and it is a foul ball. It hit the railing before Hudson could get control of it. He had a glove on it, bobbled it, and then it hits the railing before he can glove it completely. Nice call by Laz Diaz, who's right on it. Good effort by Hudson to try to handle it. Oh, that poor girl got the worst of it. Oh, the price you pay for Orlando and for the young lady in the first row who got surprised from behind. So Votto still at second. Brandon takes it down and away for a ball, 1-1.
If I'm a beer vendor, I'm heading down that alley right now. Because I know that the guy that spilled it on her wants to refill his and probably buy her a couple just to say I'm sorry.
You would hope so anyways, huh?
Brand new sweater. Got a hairdo today? Well, you can go out to the misting station out between the smokestacks. Maybe wash some of that off.
There he is behind. He's got some words of condolence. Forget the words of condolence. How about the cash for the brew? That'll kick away from Martin. Going to third will be Votto. I have faith in our Cincinnati fans. Somebody will come up with. Should probably be safe for the night now down there. A wild pitch, Votto to third. So 2 away, runner at third again for the Reds. 3-1 to cap to Brandon, who flied to center first time up. And there's ball 4.
Now, things don't seem to be clicking for Chad Billingsley like they have in his previous 4 starts against the Reds. Lifetime against the Reds, he's 3-1 with an earned run average of 1.4. In fact, he has struck out more batters than he has had innings pitched against this Reds ball club. Yeah, but it seems to be coming apart for him tonight.
Here's Scott. Robbed of a hit on a nice play by Casey Blake down at third. Roland and his career now 2 for 6 against Billingsley. Breaking ball drops in there. We'll see what Phillips does at first. First and third, 2 outs. Brandon already at 20 stolen bases on the season. He's keeping the breaking ball on him.
Well, he's going to stay stubborn with it until he's able to get a good feel of it. And that was one of the better ones that he has thrown. The rocket shot that he hit down to Casey Blake at third last time up came off a fastball.
Well, fake to third. Phillips going nowhere down at first. Both Martin and Brad Ausmus, the other catcher here, at 29% at throwing out runners. Not going. That just misses inside, 2-2.
Well, that's a teaser pitch right there that if you swing at that, you're pretty much dead meat, because that's a pitcher like Billingsley who can throw that in the low to mid 90s. Once you get it inside, you're never going to get the fat part of the bat on it, but you know that's a teaser pitch. So now you run to count 2-2. He wants to throw a strike right here before he goes full with 2 outs.
And with Billingsley now approaching the 60 pitch count and not in the kind of sink he's been in against the Reds, as you mentioned, Chris. Weaver started to loosen in the bullpen for the Dodgers. Martin rolls through his signs. Popped him up. Should get him out of the inning. Loney there, he's got it, but the Reds do a little business. Run scoring hit from Drew Stubbs, run scoring hit from Votto. The juggling act too, and the Reds lead at 3-0. 17+ home runs and 7+ stolen bases against the Reds. The only 2 players with career Those are Dodgers. The only two Dodger players with 17 homers and 7 stolen bases against the Reds. That means for their career, more than 17 homers and more than 7 stolen bases. As a Dodger versus the Reds. I'm a little slow. It takes me a while to get that. The only two. 17 homers. Davey Lopes, you'd think it'd be one of them, huh?
Does he have 17 homers against the Reds? 17 homers?
As a Dodger, Dusty Baker.
Dusty, yes. The toy cannon?
As a Dodger.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I'd vote for Dusty. I know it's not Eric Karros who's going to do the game with Tom tomorrow. He doesn't have that many stolen bases. There's a bouncer down to short. Giannis has it. Matt Kemp is retired. Kemp singled and stole a base.
Big inning for Homer Bailey. Anytime your team scores, you want to try to keep the momentum going your way. And what he's doing a lot of tonight is coming right after the Dodger hitters early on. Not necessarily with first pitch strikes, but if not first pitch strike, then second pitch strike. Has not really been in danger of walking a batter. Has not tried to force his breaking ball. He stayed pretty much with the fastball. I've got to give Corky Miller a little bit of credit in trying to just stay with his basic stuff, which is number 1, throw your fastball. Number 2, throw your fastball. And then number 3, you work in your other stuff.
No balls, 1 strike. Duethier fly to left first time up. How's that as a Los Angeles Dodger and Brooklyn Dodger too? Duke Snider? Duke? If you go back to Brooklyn.
Well, you know, you might be complicating things now by throwing the Brooklyn factor in.
Corky wants it up. Couldn't get him to go for it. Mike Rowley says it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. I might have said for Kyle, but most of those home runs, now he's got 12. We know that. So it wouldn't be that. 17 plus. He got him. Another phantom strike call from Chuck Merriweather. That's a call, strike 3. Third strikeout for Homer.
Now this is a good one right here. It's got a little comeback action on it. A 2-seam fastball that starts off the plate. The only way you're going to get this ball to move like that is to have great extension towards home, have good direction with your legs. And Homer Bailey's delivery looks very, very good. Looked a lot better last time than it had in previous starts, but it's come along, and you can see it measurably better tonight.
Here's Manny, who gets a mixed review from the Reds fans. He struck out first time up.
I don't think there was a lot of mix in there, George. I think they were pretty much booing him.
And they're cheering the swing and the miss. And for the first time in his career in Los Angeles, there have been some boos mixed in L.A. with the lack of home runs and some lethargic play in the outfield on the last homestand. No balls, 1 strike.
Well, if he had been taking performance-enhancing drugs for a while, you were going to see a drop-off. We've seen it with other players, and Manny would be no different.
We'll see how the next 2 months unfold. No balls, 2 strikes. We know that his hair's still growing.
Think that's his real hair?
He was supposed to get a cut, wasn't he? Get a send him to Fausto while he's in town.
Fausto would have a heart attack if he showed up at the door.
Nah, Fausto can handle anything. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know what you got to like, though, is the way that Homer Bailey is going right after the Dodgers. I mean, he is showing absolutely no fear, not being intimidated one bit by having Manny Ramirez in the batter's box. I mean, what you want to do as a young pitcher or player, for that matter, is you want to forget the name that's on the back of the uniform. and you just pitch to that batter like he is anybody instead of somebody, and he is coming right after him with fastballs in under the elbow.
Foul down the third base line. It stays 1-2. For his career now, 540 home runs, over 500 doubles, over 1,700 runs batted in, but yep, over 1,700 strikeouts too. Out of New York, signed by the Indians. On to Boston. There's a line drive. That's a base hit. Well, Manny comes back on the 1-2 count, singles into right center, a 2-out base hit. And that'll bring up Casey Blake.
Now, he's a good hitter. There's no question about that. Not a bad pitch at all by Homer Bailey. Wants it inside, gets it inside, but you know, the adjustment by Manny Ramirez right there. He's seen a lot of pitches now from Homer. He's feeling a little more comfortable about the speed of the ball, and he goes right down to get that pitch. Little inside out swing. It's a pretty doggone good bit of hitting right there.
Some guys that have a PhD in hitting, I mean, you don't have to be intellectually smart, but when you step in the batter's box, and that's Manny Ramirez. He always has had that ability to not just athletically to muscle a pitch, but to think ahead of a pitcher. So he's on with 2 outs, and here's Blake. Strike 1 to Casey. Bounced to third first time up. And down the left field line, curving. It'll go foul.
Homer got away with one right there after throwing a fastball by Blake the first pitch. Did him a favor by throwing a breaking ball right there. Either that was a slider or it was a splitter. Looks like a slider, and he just hung it right up there. That's the old cement mixer version, where it just kind of spins and it really doesn't go down very much. If you can get away with one of those, boy, you feel yourself very blessed.
Casey Blake was out in front of it, tried to steer it fair, couldn't do it, fortunately for the Reds.
So now you tell yourself as a pitcher, hey, I got away with one of those right here. If I throw another, I'm going to bury it.
0-2.
Ooh, nasty splitter that time.
Blake strikes out. 4 strikeouts for Homer. Manny stranded. Valentine leads it off, and we return. The only 2 Dodgers for a career with more than 17 homers and more than 7 stolen bases against the Reds. We both agree on Dusty, and maybe Snyder, maybe John Roseborough, but how about Garvey? Popeye.
Well, he made the minimum of 7 stolen bases, as did Dusty Baker. 36 bombs against the Reds. Steve Garvey did, and 17 for Dusty Baker. That was a great rivalry when those guys were teammates. Boy. Both teams played in the National League West. And when the September visit by the Dodgers would end up in Cincinnati, I mean, those tickets would be sold out in April. Everybody look at that series and say that will be an important series, pivotal series for the Reds in the National League Western Division, and there usually were a lot of excitement in that old Riverfront Stadium.
Here's Valentine, doubled first time up. I remember going to Dodger Stadium, walking through the stands, and all the fans down in left field would call left field Bakersfield for Dusty. They loved him out there, and he played to those fans too. He had a great relationship with the fans down in left field. Two balls, 1 strike. Count evens at 2-2. That's a call, strike 3. Valentine retired. That's a strikeout for Billingsley, and there's one away here in the 4th. Hey, Chris.
Well, how about that?
Craig to the rescue.
Well, here's the lady that got the beer spilled on her right here. And this is Craig Warman. Craig Warman is a Reds employee, director of, I think, Special Client Services. But he saw what happened watching the game on one of the monitors here, and he's going out there with a bag of goodies for everybody. This is a waterproof hat, just in case the same thing happens again.
Yeah, but now she said, but how about the beer?
Well, that's what the guy behind her is looking for, the beer coupons.
Yeah.
Little does he know that Jesse Jackson's the one with all the beer coupons.
Jesse's right behind Craig. He's trying to get some of those freebies. I was wondering where he went. Now I know. Good job. There's a line drive into left by Gomes. Johnny's 2 for 2. He singled in a run his first time up. Here's a one-out base hit in the 4th inning. So you always come to the ballpark, Chris. You always bring your glove and a raincoat.
Johnny Gomes showed a little bit of hitting intelligence right there, because they know that he's a good fastball hitter, but he picks on a first pitch breaking ball. Usually it's a cinch to throw a first pitch curveball to a fastball hitter like Johnny Gomes, and he'll take it. That was a hanger, looking for something maybe off speed, thinking that Billingsley was going to try to fool him, and he rips a base hit to left field. Johnny Gomes 2 for 2. And what you're seeing now is Gomes being played for in favor of or over Lance Nix. Usually Dusty Baker throughout the season has gone pretty much with a lefty-righty platoon. And Billingsley, who's normally pretty tough on right-handed hitters, would normally warrant seeing a left-hander in the lineup. But the way Gomes is swinging the bat, that they want to keep him in there.
Hit pretty good. Miller going back. It's to the wall in left center, and it's caught by Kemp. That's about as far as he can hit it. And hauled in at the warning track, a step from the wall. Corky Miller robbed of extras by Kemp.
Well, he gets this one pretty good, and you're right, George. I think it's about as far as you can hit it without it being a home run. That is one of the deepest parts of the ballpark right there. Normally a spot where that ball really carries. But there's not much wind blowing at all at Great American Ballpark tonight. The flags are hanging limp. That ball dies right at the wall. Now they're getting on him now about warning track power.
You can't have everything. You got speed the first time up, scoring from second. So Barker's all over him, isn't he? Here's Homer. 2 away, runner still on first. Big swing and a strike, 1-1. Homer, part of the rally in the 3rd. Get him on, get him over, get him in. Miller walk. Homer sacrificed him to second. Stubbs base hit chased him home. 2-0 Reds. Double by Votto, 3-0. First run scoring on a Gomes RBI in the 2nd. Ooh, hefty swing.
Going to get the curveball.
Therein lies one of the differences in Billingsley tonight. Not getting that breaking ball over.
Well, he's throwing the curveball uphill. It just doesn't look like he's getting his arm up in time, and he's trying to throw it maybe a little bit too hard. That means your front side's flying open. But he's pitching around that problem. Not so bad, really. I mean, he's given up 5 hits and 3 runs, but it looks worse because the Dodgers have been unable to do anything against Homer Bailey. You see with some body language right there, he's trying to tell himself, you know, get your arm up. Pitchers have little keys that they go through, the little anchors that try to get them back into good deliveries the same way hitters do.
Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Good at bat for Bailey. Runner going and fouled off. One thing Billingsley will always give you, Chad, coughs up those innings, at least 6 innings in 21 of his 26 starts.
This is an off night for him, and one way you can tell is that he comes in this ball game nearly having 1 strikeout for every inning pitched. But tonight He's only got one punch out all game long.
Hopped into short right. Hudson there, he's got it. The Reds get a hit, nothing to show for it. Heading to the fifth. Loney will lead it off. Homer's got a 3-0 lead. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of Homer tonight. Homer Bailey's pitched well through 4 innings. He's allowed only 2 hits and no runs. One out base hit and a stolen base from Kemp in the first. He was left stranded. And a 2-out base hit by Ramirez in the fourth. So Homer's going to work as we head to the fifth. Loney, Martin, and Hudson due up. Another first rounder on the mound. Homer now 23 years of age, native of Texas. First round of the 2004 draft, 1 year after Billingsley was selected by the Dodgers. James hit a 3-hopper down to first time up. Slice to left center. Who's going to get there? Valentine does, and there's one away. And don't forget, kids, get your very own Build-A-Bear monkey at the Reds game on Sunday. Make sure to get there early with your friends and family, as the first 10,000 kids in attendance will be able to take home a Build-A-Bear monkey thanks to Chiquita. For your tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com.
Who's your friend there, George?
Take the monkey off my back?
Oh, 500-pound gorilla. That's a nice one.
It's a good-looking one.
Nice and soft. Has a Chiquita banana right there and a Reds ribbon around his neck. Say hi.
That's got Grace's name all over it.
You better believe that. Thank you very much.
Nobody gave it to you.
In fact, that might just be a good luck monkey.
That's right.
They've got a rally monkey in California. We can have a good luck monkey here, right?
Leave it here. Russell Martin gets a base hit, so a 1-out base hit. Martin on after lining the right first time up. 1 out, 1 on, and here comes Orlando Hudson. Orlando, 3-time Gold Glove winner. Last year, of course, his year was cut short. He didn't play after August with a wrist injury, and that's really why he's a Dodger right now. All winter long, everybody looked at the medical reports, and a lot of folks didn't believe he'd be able to come back. But this 31-year-old Chris is very resilient, and he's had, if ever you could say it, a comeback year after the injury last year.
He certainly has, George. He was an all-star this year. He's been very, very important to them. Comes into this ball game hitting .292. but remarkably hitting in the number 8 spot. That's the luxury afforded Joe Torre.
.292, and he's in the 280s for his career, and pretty much even Steven. He's a little better hitter from the left side than the right side as a switch hitter, and defensively he's outstanding. Won his first Gold Glove in Toronto, then on to Arizona. He and Brandon Phillips, very close friends. They got to know each other in the Arizona Fall League, and they remain very competitive but close as well. There's a bouncer down to short. They'll get one. The flip to first, not in time. Nice job by Phillips. He made it a lot closer than you ever thought it was going to be.
Well, the ball not hit all that hard, but remember also that Orlando Hudson can really scoot down the line, and he does right through the bag. Russell Martin going after the Red second baseman Brandon Phillips in a clean but hard slide, and you know Brandon's getting a little bit better, little by little, week by week, at turning that double play at second base.
For a guy who grew up as a shortstop, and yeah, he's played second now for a while, that's one of the more difficult things to finally get a handle on. He's got such a great arm that you tend to rely on your arm and not your footwork. But as all the great second basemen will tell you, and in the Reds organization, the Reds have had great tutors. Freddie Benavidez now in the minor leagues now, and of course Billy Dorn and Ronnie Oster when he was here. They tutored Pokey Reese when he came through. It's important to get out of the way if you want to prolong your career. Here's Billingsley with the runner on first and 2 outs. Manageable numbers. This will be the 64th pitch of the night for Homer here in the 5th inning.
Well, the advantage of throwing strikes.
Rolling, goes the short way, and that'll do it. Orlando and Brandon at second have a smile for each other. It's a smile for Don't forget, you can enjoy an afternoon of Reds baseball at a great price Wednesday, September 2nd with the Senior Citizen Specials presented by Hill Here Better. Reds take on the Buccos at 12:35. Fans age 60 and older can purchase selected non-premium tickets at half price in advance of game day only. For your tickets, call 381-REDS or go to Reds.com. By the way, Chris, thanks to Daddy Wags, Homer Bailey, outstanding so far in the high school crosstown showdown tonight at Nippert Stadium. LaSalle has beaten Oak Hill 7-3 in the final of Game 1. Can you sing the fight song? That's it. And coming up, Coleraine and your Bombers.
Kickoff at 8:45 between, I believe, Coleraine, ranked number 7 in the country this year. They've got a couple of tough games early on. They'll play the St. Xavier Bombers tonight. Kickoff at 8:45. Next week they go to the Pit and play the Elder Panthers at their home field.
One of the biggest
easy task there.
Biggest high school games of the country. There's a pop-up.
Elder ranked number 4.
Yep.
Coleraine right now ranked number 7. They say that if Elder can get by the first couple of games of the season, they may just jump to number 1 in the country in the polls.
Great high school athletics in and around the Queen City. Stubbs pops up. He's 1 for 3. Had a base hit in the 3rd, knocked in a run. Here's Yanish. Ball flied to right, flied to left, 0 for 2. Down to 3rd. Casey Blake. 2 away. Time for our Mega Million jackpot. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot number, it's up to $333 million. Buy a ticket today. You could be a big winner in the Ohio lottery. A Mega Million jackpot of $333 million. There's Joey, bounced to second and doubled in a run in the 3rd. Tardy on that one for strike 1. Great road trip for Joey. 333. He was 8 for 24 with a couple of home runs. And talking to Dusty Baker and Walt Jocketty too, and this coaching staff, Chris, the one thing you don't worry about, this guy, number 19, comes to play every day, works as hard as anybody in the game, before, during, and after a game. But you know, when you lose like the Reds lost, you wonder who are the keepers, who are the guys who are going to reach down, dig down, and play hard. And I think in this 4-game win streak, you get a look at the character of some of these players.
Well, you find out about character. Actually, you said it right the first time. I think when you start to lose, you find out who doesn't give up, who comes to play every day, who still cares about the team concept instead of posting your own numbers so that you can take it to the arbitration table. I mean, those things that you don't take to the table, like getting good secondary leads and scoring on base hits and going from first to third. And Joey Votto's in that category. There's no question about that. I know that there were suitors for him all last season. And if the Reds ever wanted to deal Joey Votto, they'd have ample opportunity and plenty of chances, but I don't think that'll happen for a long time.
When he was coming through the minor leagues, there were some in the organization who wondered how he would translate to major league caliber pitching, and there were some in the Reds organization over the years that were willing to trade him. Fortunately, the deal never came to the fore that worked. The Reds got to keep him, and you've got a foundation to build on. Here's Brandon. Popped up and walked 0 for 1.
Well, if you want to meet Joey Votto, this weekend might be a great time for you, because up at, and you've been there, George, up at Jungle Gyms, Joey Votto will be up there Sunday afternoon after the ball game from 5:30 to 6:30, making an appearance. Mike Connors from Coke and Bill Reinberger, our good buddy from the sales department here at the Reds, will be up there to make sure things run smoothly. In fact, Bill Reinberger will be up there that Sunday and be with some Reds tickets to give away to the upcoming Pirates games in that series. Joey Votto live and in person at Jungle Gyms.
I think Joey still has some of those Subway certificates from when he and Brandon made the sandwiches at Subway's.
I want to know.
He's eating there every night.
I don't. Nothing wrong with that now. I wonder if Jungle Jim himself, Jim Bonamino, is going to be there in his tuxedo.
Well, if he is, it's a treat. Does he light the place up or what? Talk about a treasure of Cincinnati. He's one of them. 1 ball, 1 strike to Brandon. There goes Joey. There's a bouncer for Cow. Will glove it, but it'll stick in the grass, and the Reds will have an infield hit and 2 on and 2 outs. No way he's going to throw Phillips out, even if he is able to come up with this. Even with his arm. He may have had a chance to get Votto if Votto had not have been running, but Joey was running on the pitch, so it's 1st and 2nd, 2 outs, and here comes Scott Rowland. Bounced out, popped up, 0 for 2. Action again in the bullpen for the Dodgers here in inning number 5. The Reds now 3 runs on 6 hits. Weaver throwing again. The older of the 2 Weaver brothers, Jeff, younger Jared, also a major leaguer. And Martin will take a stroll out to talk to Billingsley. Now, we've talked a lot about it, Chris. Tom Seaver always said in 5 starts, if you took 5 starts, he probably had his best stuff in 1 start, and everything else, he probably had nothing in 1 start, and everything else was somewhere in between. It's in those in-between days that you try to find a way to win.
Yeah, and sometimes those days are hard because you'll have ground balls that instead of going right at the fielders, they just elude their gloves. And, you know, those pitches that you think you throw pretty good ones, instead of being on the corner, they're a ½ an inch outside. And his stuff is there. I mean, obviously at 96 miles an hour after 92 pitches in the ball game, he still has plenty of oomph on the ball. The location has not been where he's wanted it to be, and really it all comes down to his being able to spin that breaking ball up there. He's only thrown a handful of good ones.
2nd walk in the inning. Joe turns around, talks to his pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt. This staff has Joe Torre, the manager. Bob Schaefer, you've seen, the bench coach. There's Honeycutt behind him, the former major league pitcher. 21 years as a major league pitcher. Larry Bow, of course, down in 3rd. Mariano Duncan, the former Red from the '90 championship team, the first base coach. Don Mattingly to the right of your screen, the hitting instructor who was with Joe in New York. Jeff Pentland, also a coach to help Mattingly with the hitters. There's Mariano.
Loves coming back to Cincinnati.
Sure does. He's jovial, a smile on his face, and what a competitor too.
Well, that's the kind of rip you want to take on a first pitch fastball with the bases loaded. Vladimir Valentin nearly leaving the ground on this one.
Strike one to Valentin, who doubled and struck out. Down to third. Blake backhands and will tap the bag. So the Reds put 3 on, can't score in the 5th. They'll strand all 3. They've stranded 6.
Dealing so far as we move on to the 6th inning. Jim Day with you. I'm in the camera well just by the Reds dugout, and Homer right now with 64 pitches. Last time out went 7 innings in Pittsburgh, and one of the lowest pitch counts we've seen through 5 innings right now as Homer goes to work here in the 6th inning. And guys, we talked about it so many times, the guy is only 23 years old. The Reds have worked him along slowly, and in comparison, if you come out of high school and you're drafted as opposed to coming out of college, think about Mike Leake, the Reds' first round draft pick this year, nearly the same age as Homer Bailey, but Homer making his 30th major league start tonight. Is he learning on the job? Absolutely. But those 30 starts are going to go a long, long way in the next few seasons, guys.
Growing up pitch by pitch, inning by inning, game by game. That's how you become a major leaguer, huh?
Well, that's what it's all about, George. It's not easy to learn at this level, and some may have said, well, they rushed Homer Bailey to the major leagues based on the fact that he threw so hard and he had such a high ceiling. But you know, whereas he would be in college, or maybe just graduated from college last year, maybe a first year of pro ball if he had stayed in college and finished his 4 years, that kind of puts you in perspective where you are. Kenny Howe, the bullpen coach for the Dodgers, has a saying for that when he sees young pitchers, saying, you know, in this league, there's not a little yellow school bus that pulls up and drops off the players outside the gate.
Yep. Here's for Kyle, 0 for 2, a fly ball out and a strikeout. Into right center, that'll drop for a hit. Gomes over, he'll get it in quickly. Single by Kemp in the first. Single by Ramirez in the 4th. One by Martin in the 5th. And here's the 4th hit. It's a base hit by Furcal to lead off the 6th.
Well, they really have not had all that many hard hit balls off Homer Bailey. They've had a couple of base hits just like that, the one you saw from Furcal. But it's important now you work out of the stretch and that you stay focused if you're Homer Bailey. If there's one common thread to Homer starts this year, is that he loses his concentration sometime if he's able to last this long in a ball game around now. But there's usually one inning that just jumps out at you where he all of a sudden tries to overthrow, can't find his rotation on his breaking ball, can't find his release point, and things come apart quickly for him. So this will be a good test now, middle of the ball game, to see if he can't keep that little momentum and that composure that he has built all game long, keep it going.
Here's Kemp, who singled and stole a base in the first. His 28th stolen base of the year, and he bounced to short in the 4th. Reds hopeful to turn in their 124th double play of the season, with Yanish and Phillips at double play depth. Kemp back in the number 2 spot. 8th game he's been there. He's been just about everywhere. 2 through 8 in the lineup. Wherever you put him, he's lethal. 19 homers, 80 knocked in on the season. It's a talent-laden ball club that the Dodgers have. Oh, 2 just missing outside. And Kemp and that guy right there, Andre Ethier, both had a great month of August, each one of them with 6 home runs in this month of August. Dodgers offense hasn't missed a beat. Their pitching has stumbled a bit here in the month of August. Still, having said that, the starting pitching is 3rd in the league. Their bullpen right now number 1 in the league, and so far they've been able to survive with all the innings they've pitched out of the bullpen. Fouled it off the top of his foot. It'll take a little extra time to march around.
Well, if you're a Dodger fan, you're excited obviously because you're in first place, but you may even be more excited to know that, you know, some of the core of this lineup is very young yet. Matt Kemp only 24 years old. He won't be 25 until next month. Andre Ethier is 27 years old, just now reaching his peak years in the major leagues, and Kemp at 24 is already in his 4th major league season. So he's had some experience. He's played over 400 major league games.
1-2. That's ripped into the corner and left. Valentine will cut it off. Furcal takes a big turn and a perfect throw. He slams on the brakes. Furcal had first to third in his mind, but Valentine does a great job. Remember, Valentine had 4 assists over the American League. He's shown a strong and an accurate arm for the Reds.
Now remember, there's nobody out. They're not going to run themselves out of an inning, so that's why it is important still that Valentine gets to the ball, not necessarily comes up and makes that throw, even though it was a great one-hopper on the money. But if Valentine doesn't get over there and get to that ball, Furcal would certainly take third if you're going to give it to him.
Good backhand catch and a perfect throw to the bag. And now here's Ethier.
Now this is where Homer really has to continue to stay aggressive. Don't start going into a pitching shell now just because they've got a couple of base hits off you, because this guy will jump all over a mistake.
Andre tonight flied out, struck out looking, skies this one to the left side. It'll be out of play.
Hey, Reds fans, for great tasting food and family fun, pick up JTM Philly Kits, burgers, or delicious barbecue from your favorite grocer. JTM Food, family fun.
Andre comes in 270 with runners in scoring position. He digs in, sitting on 87 runs batted in on the season. That just misses on the outside corner, 1-1. That guy, man, he's on deck. 1 for 2, a single.
Good looking pitch right there. That pitch that goes down and away from left-handers is the new splitter that Homer Bailey has begun to use this year only. Learned it from Justin Lear, and he stays on top of that pitch and just drives it down nicely, down and away. Gives you a whole different perspective when you have a pitch that'll go away from a left-hander off speed.
1-2 again.
And he went back with the same pitch. Has not overused that pitch at all. When he first came up from the minor leagues after having been using it down in Louisville, I thought he overused it a little bit, but he's been fairly judicious with it this evening.
Against a lesser hitter, he might have gotten them on either of those pitches, not against Ethier. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Setting up inside and just a little too far inside, and we'll go full 3-2.
Now, better to miss there than over the middle of the dish. Ethier originally signed by the Oakland A's, traded from the A's to the Dodgers for Milton Bradley.
December of 2005, the winter meetings. 3-2, Reds hoping for 2. Ethier's bounced into 19 double plays. And there's a strikeout. When in doubt, go to your best, huh?
Well, he got Ethier to chase a high fastball. This was ball 4 had Andre been able to hold his bat back. But boy, you don't have much time to decide. Not when you're rushing it up there in the mid-90s. Stayed right behind that 4-seamer and said, here it is. And considering who's coming into out of the on-deck circle right now, will show you how important that particular strikeout was.
And not only is he hit for average, he is usually on whatever team he's on, the best hitter with runners in scoring position, and that's true again this year with Manny and the Dodgers. He's their #1 hitter with runners in scoring position at .317. And usually in these situations, I mean, he doesn't think home run, he thinks base hit. That's one of the reasons why he's been successful in it.
Well, the other thing that Manny does is he's up there fishing for a certain pitch. He may take a fastball right down the middle because he's looking breaking ball. You don't know what pitch he's fishing for, but he's a patient guy.
Popped up, it'll be out of play, a ball and a strike. First time up, Homer struck him out, staying in. Second time up, Homer got ahead 1-2, and then Manny muscled the ball into the right center field alley for a base hit. Furcal led off with a single. He's at second. Kemp an infield hit. He's at first. Here's the 1-1. In the air to the right side. Here comes Gomes. Furcal will go halfway, and he's going nowhere. Here's a pitch sequence for Homer against Manny.
Now, it looked like the first pitch that he threw was a two-seam fastball down and in. He took it for a strike, and then from then on, he just came after him with a good old-fashioned hardball right there. Fastball after fastball to Ramirez and that at bat, and that's the difference I think in Homer tonight. He's not trying to fool the hitters out there as much as he has in the past. He's going with his #1, and I like that approach.
That about confidence, Chris, as he pitches better each time out?
I think so, and it's also about simplifying things. You know, sometimes you come up in the minors, you think, oh, these guys are so much better that I better be better than I ever was down there. But it's your fastball usually that gets you to the major leagues, and if you're Homer Bailey, that is very much the truth.
Here's Casey Blake, bounced to third and struck out. Well, through the first 5, the most Homer had to deal with was 1 runner on base per inning. Here he's had to work from the stretch after back-to-back base hits, and to get out of this one will be a big boost for not just him but for the team too.
Well, here's the thing he has to deal with right now. You have an emotional letdown after you face Ethier, 27 home runs, then Manny Ramirez, one of the best hitters in baseball, and you still want to keep your level of concentration up there. And he quickly went down to Casey Blake 2-0. So you have some unfinished business until you're sitting in the dugout.
'88th pitch of the night coming up for Homer. (3-1), no mistakes here. Popped up. Brandon calling. They'll strand 2. They've stranded 5. The man from LaGrange is home on the range tonight. Homer's got a 3-0 lead. She gets a catch, unfortunately, of the beer. from the fellow behind her. But that wasn't the end of the story. After he gave every excuse in the book, the Reds came to the plate and gave her a bag full of goodies to take home. Our Coors Light freeze can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. She did get another beverage.
Oh, she got some coupons after all. There you go.
She made a whole lot of friends too. Very nice. There's Johnny Gomes to lead it off as we head to the bottom of the sixth. Gomes 2 hits, singled in a run in the second, and a 1-out single in the fourth, but was left stranded. Inning begins with action in the bullpen for the Dodgers, as Billingsley is now at 97 pitches on the evening. Belisario starting to loosen for the Dodgers as we're in the bottom of the sixth. That's fouled off by Johnny. This bullpen, as we said, that's been often used, much used, as Ronald Belisario from the right side, along with James McDonald, Guillermo Mota. This one hit deep to right. Talk about deep. That's deep and gone. Is he on a roll or what, Chris? Johnny Gomes, who was 6 for 15 on the road trip, came in at 350 for the last 10 games. Guess what? He's 3 for 3 tonight, 2 singles and a homer. And the Reds lead it 4-0.
Johnny Gomes went down when he did not make the roster out of spring training. He went down to AAA, worked hard, had fun, and you know, the more you hit, the more playing time you get, and the more playing time he gets, the more he hits. That's an impressive swing right there, because he doesn't pull that ball. He waits late on that ball and drives it the other way, a la Manny Ramirez and a lot of his home runs. Seeing the ball real big right now is Johnny Gomes, and good for him. Guy works hard and is really a positive member of this ball club. I mean, he is always positive.
When he didn't make the club, as Chris talked about, he went down to AAA, and Rick Sweet, the manager down there, really didn't know what he was getting. Was he going to be a guy who was disgruntled about going down there? He said from the first moment he sat down in his office, he said Johnny was in the program and he was one of our leaders. Here comes Joe Torre. He's already made the call to the bullpen. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Performance on the 28th. In 1977, the Dodgers beat the Cardinals 11-0. And speaking of one of the guys who was on our quiz for tonight, Steve Garvey went 5 for 5, 3 doubles, 2 homers, including a grand slam. Our Cabot Woodstain legendary performance of this evening. Here's Ronald Belisario, who will take over after the home run by Gomes. Here's Corky Miller. Still nobody out in the sixth. So Chad Billingsley goes 5+ innings, allows 7 hits and 4 runs. Here is Belisario. And here we are, Chris. Again, you're in the 6th inning and you got to go to your bullpen. The Dodgers have logged more bullpen innings than any team except the Padres in the league.
You just wonder if maybe that's something that Joe Torre brings with him over from the American League, where you know you tend to use more pitchers over there.
It's almost by necessity too. He's got 8 in the bullpen.
Belisario in his first major league years had 52 games now, including tonight. Originally signed by the Florida Marlins, and the Dodgers signed him right before spring training.
Corky tonight walked and flied out. Big night for him so far. He's on deck. Homer's got a sacrifice bunt and he's pitched great. Swing and a miss. Miller retired. First out of the inning, and here comes Homer. Nice round of applause from the Reds fans here tonight, and deservedly so. 5 hits, no runs allowed by the Dodgers by that guy. How about this? A base hit too. Homer gets his second hit of the season. So a productive night on the mound and a sacrifice and a base hit to go along with it at the plate.
Now, you remarked earlier, George, about the big hacks he was taking on those high fastballs. Boy, he goes out to get this one, doesn't he? Driving at the right field.
So Homer's on. 1 out, 1 on, and a run in already on the Gomes homer. And back to the top of the order, Drew Stubbs. Drew fly to center. Singled in a run in the third and then popped to second. Lone Star State sure has been kind to the Reds of late. Drew Stubbs, of course, University of Texas product. Homer out of LaGrange, Texas. Jay Bruce. Go down the list. That's a call, strike 3. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Belisario, and here comes Paul Yanish, another Texas product out of Rice.
Yeah, a lot of those amateur free agents or amateur guys who were drafted back in the day were, I guess, a lot of them associated with Johnny Alvarez, who for so long was a scout, a cross-checker, a front office operative for the Reds. And the names that you just listed, George, I think most of them signed during his years here.
Johnny now with Atlanta, outstanding Reds employee. Pop up, but the Reds get a run on the Gomes homer. In the third, a broken bat base hit by Stubbs makes it 2-0 as Miller scored after a sacrifice. Joey Votto then followed with a double. Stubbs scores. It's 3-0 Reds, and ba-boom, Johnny Gomes drills his 16th homer. 3rd hit of the night, 4-0 Cincinnati. While all that's going on, Homer Bailey, 5 strikeouts. He's been dealing. Good reason to smile for Homer. Good reason to smile for Reds fans too. Hi, Homer. Nice job. Like the little girl with the curl, huh? What a cutie. Smiling side of the scoreboard for the Reds, and a smiling fan right there. 4 runs, 8 hits for the Reds. No runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. There's James Loney to lead it off in the 7th. Martin and Hudson will follow. Loney bounced out and flied out to left. Thank you very much. First pitch swinging. 1 away.
Well, you'll see more and more first pitch swinging if you establish yourself as a pitcher that will throw strikes early in the count. And when you got a guy who's throwing 96 miles an hour out there the way Homer is, and he's racking up some strikeouts, you really don't want to get back and behind in the count to him. So you're looking at the first fastball that you see, try to put the wood on it, and that all comes, though, as a function of Homer Bailey throwing strikes early in the ballgame.
Homer's at the 91 pitch mark now. Chris, we've been with him when he's been at the 90 pitch mark in the 4th inning.
Or the 3rd inning.
Yep. This one rolls through on the right side. Martin has his 2nd hit. Lined out, single to left, and this single to right. 1 out, 1 on, and here comes Orlando Hudson 0 for 2. Hudson walks behind Chuck Merriweather, peers down at 3rd, gets a sign from the 3rd base coach Larry Boa. What a competitor Boa was in his career as a player and remains that way as a coach as well. Outstanding 3rd base coach and former major league manager as well. Down to short. 6-4. No chance to turn it here. Now with the pitcher spot due up and Belisario got out of that inning, here comes Juan Pierre. Pierre signed to a multi-year contract, lost his center field job, moved him to left. When Manny Ramirez came to town, he moved to the bench. And all he did when Manny went down for his 50-game suspension was hit over 300, play solid defense, and ignite the top of the order. When he's in the lineup, he'll hit either 1 or 2. And a guy with a better attitude you'll never find. Steps in at 321. Always a threat to steal. Even in part-time play this year, he's got 23 stolen bases. Against the Reds, solid. Short lead down at first for Martin. And nobody in the last 7 years has more stolen bases in Major League Baseball than that guy. And when we talk about work ethic, put him in the top 2 or 3%. 2 balls, no strikes. Now Homer takes a march around the mound after falling behind 3-0 here with 2 outs and a run around.
Have not been too many 3-ball counts for Homer this evening.
Three and 1. Pierre is a pinch hitter. 12 for 33. Center field. Here comes Stubbs. What a great first step. Drew there to haul it in. Now time for our 7th inning stretch, presented by Cincinnati Bell, as the Reds lead at 4-0. Here's a peek outside Great American Ballpark, where Reds baseball is being brought to you by your local Ford dealer and the Ford F-150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. By your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. You're loving it. The Reds and Reds fans are loving it tonight. 4 runs, 8 hits for Cincinnati, 7 left on base, no runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. As the Reds go back to work, we go to the bottom of 7. Here's Joey Votto, bounced out, doubled in a run, and walked in his 3 plate appearances. Votto will face the 3rd pitcher of the night, James McDonald. Youngster joined the club in April and is stuck in the bullpen. 34th appearance, and he's been a on again off again starter. He's had 4 starts this year on more or less an emergency basis for the Dodgers. Lively arms they have here, don't they? And at the end of it, Chris, is the big guy, Jonathan Broxton, who's been clocked at 101 or 102. So you want to get a lead on these guys. You don't want to see him in a ninth.
You're no doubt about that, and you likely will not see him tonight unless the Dodgers take the lead. McDonald, an interesting story on him. His father, James McDonald, was a receiver in the NFL. And his father's brother was also a football player at Colorado State. Gave birth to a young man named Darnell McDonald. And I didn't realize this when the Dodgers played the Reds back when we were out on the West Coast, but this McDonald, James McDonald, is first cousins with Darnell McDonald. Although Darnell a few years older, they've never faced each other, at least in competition at any level. Darnell says, when I face him, I'm taking him deep, family or not.
And he's on Reds turf, so he'll probably pay for dinner afterwards too. 3 balls, 2 strikes. That's a call, strike 3. Joey thought it was another walk. Instead, it'll be strikeout number 1 here in the 7th.
Long arm, big motion, lively fastball, and right on the corner it goes.
You think back of Dodger pitchers in the past, and certainly if you stamp the Dodger franchise, you know, the Drysdale, Koufax era, then you go to the Hershiser's down the list, and this guy kind of reminds you, ooh, there's a changeup that has him locked up.
Wow. Well, what great arm motion on this. I mean, Brandon reading it as a fastball, and that ball's not even halfway to the plate. Man, is that a good pitch.
No balls, 1 strike. Fans of today, of course, know that Pedro Martinez is one of the best pitchers of this generation. Ramon Martinez, though, he reminds me a little bit of Ramon, doesn't he?
He does.
The long, lanky, older brother of Pedro.
Think of the baseball looks like a golf ball in his hands. I mean, he's got some big paws, doesn't he? Man.
Bounce back at bat from Brandon. There's a base hit. Brandon has 2 hits on the night, 2 for 3 and a walk.
Going the other way, figuring after a fastball that he had to vacate his knees to keep from being hit, figuring that McDonald will go the other way, and he does exactly that. Finds a hole on the right side. Reds would love to add a couple more and put this game on ice.
1 out, 1 on. Here's Scott rolling. Scott 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Phillips going, Martin throwing, and they got him. So instead of stolen base number 21, Martin throws out Brandon, and the base runner erased.
Not a big lead for Brandon, almost a stutter step, as he really didn't get the motion figured out of James McDonald, and Russell Martin does a nice job.
Martin right about the 29th percentile throwing out runners this year,
which is pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, we brag about Ryan Hannigan around what, 45 or 46%. I mean, that leads the league. But when you get up around 30%, you're doing a pretty good job, and a good job by your pitching staff.
And that's changed of late in this Dodgers staff. Martin, of course, has won a Gold Glove. 2 years ago, he won the Gold Glove, and he also won a Silver Bat. The last Dodger player to do that was Dusty, when he did it as an outfielder in the 80s. Won a Silver Bat as a left fielder and a Gold Glove. And they've got one of the best in the business sitting behind him. That's Brad Ausmus. Ausmus, outstanding catch and throw guy, who is over 30% for almost his whole career. Last few years, that's gone down a bit. Fly ball deep left. Who's going to get there? Manny at the warning track, hauls it in.
So hey, I'm here to hit. You're there to catch.
He was ready to give way to Kemp. Kemp just never came, and Manny gives him the basket catch. The Reds still lead at 4. But these Cats compete for another championship. Go Inside Bearcats Football Tuesday at 10 on Fox Sports Ohio. Inside Bearcats Football, presented by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Bearcats ready to get going once again. Back to the top of the order. We go to the 8th. Here's Rafael Furcal. Trying to bunt his way on. Votto, can he get there? No. It'll be a base hit for Furcal. Homer couldn't get there in time. Votto couldn't retrace his steps to get there, so it'll be a base hit, second hit of the night for Rafael.
Well, not all bunts are defensible, especially when you've got Rafi Furcal running down the line the way he does, bunts it in no man's land. And even with Joey Votto playing shallow, all he has to do for Cal, that is beat Homer Bailey to first base, and that's no match.
So for Cal, 2 for 4, trailing by 4, the leadoff hitter on here in the 8th. For Cal, reached on a base hit to right in the 6th as the leadoff hitter. Kemp followed with a base hit, but then Bailey got a strikeout, a fly ball out, and 2 pop-ups to get out of it. Nick Massett has started to loosen in the bullpen, and Homer's right about at uncharted territory. His career high 7 1/3 innings. He pitched 7 innings against Pittsburgh last time up. So big inning for him here.
Well, he's pitched 7 1/3 twice so far this year, plus the game you referred to, George, his last time out on Sunday against the Pirates. And the most he's gone is around 114 pitches this year. So he's in that range. I mean, I'm never a believer in pulling a guy out of a game just because he reaches 100 pitches. And this is when he really has to learn that he really would love to finish this inning. You know, reach back and learn how to pitch. Reach back and learn something about yourself.
There's 96 in the 8th inning, so he's still got some giddy up.
Yeah, and it's usually mental fatigue that takes over. Going to have to work right through the middle of the Dodger order.
Pretty nasty. Out number 1.
Good location, and part of Homer Bailey's advantage as a pitcher is that he's got long arms and long legs, and he gets great extension. He's one of those guys with real long stride, and sometimes that can work against you if your mechanics go awry. But when they're going right and you get way out over your front leg, much like Tim Lincecum, who also is pitching tonight, is a guy that gets great extension towards home. That adds a little something to your fastball, and that is not measured on the radar gun. All the gun sees is the miles per hour. It doesn't show how close you are when you release the ball to home plate. The closer you are, less time the hitter has.
Strike 1 to Ethier, who flied out, struck out, and struck out. Chris mentioned Tim Lincecum. That's that big showdown, the wild card showdown in the National League. San Francisco starting the night 3 games back of Colorado. They're meeting tonight, first of the weekend set. Dodgers with a 4-game lead over Colorado, 7 over San Francisco going into play tonight in the West. 1 ball, 1 strike. Three and one, and you know who's on deck.
Well, the question is, if you lose Andre Ethier right here to a walk, do you bring in Nick Massett to face Manny Ramirez?
Same Nick Massett who gave up the grand slam in Los Angeles.
Dusty Baker looks like he's working his way up the dugout steps right now.
Well, Dusty's on his way out. No sign to the bullpen as yet.
Well, Dusty does this a lot. He'll sometimes go out there and look the pitcher right in the eye and ask him, you know, do you want to stay in? How do you feel? And he'll want to read how that pitcher answers that question. If you show doubt, then he'll take you out. If you're forceful about it, you look him back in the eye and say, hey, I want this guy, he'll leave you in. And that's exactly what he's going to do right here to Homer Bailey.
You saw Dusty. He looked right into those eyes before he said anything. And he's going to leave Homer in. So Homer will get the chance against Manny. Tonight, Manny struck out, singled, and flied out. The Reds with a 4-run lead, 4-0 here in the 8th. And the biggest moment of the game for the Dodgers.
Well, the decision was a little easier now that the Reds have scored 4 runs. If Manny's the tying run, or if he is a go-ahead run at the plate, that may be a different decision. Maybe Dusty wouldn't have even allowed him to get this far. But even a home run by Ramirez here, you still have a Reds lead.
Manny digs in, 2 on, 1 out. Ramirez, first time up. Bailey stayed in on him, struck him out, with a fastball up and in. Second time up he singled to right center. Third time up he flied to right. Strike one to Ramirez. 13 homers, 46 knocked in on the season. Center field, here comes Stubbs, right there, got it. Hit right on the button by Ramirez, but Drew Stubbs tracked it down like a laser.
Well, he's been going after Manny Ramirez with fastballs all night. Corky wants it up, the ball goes down. Ramirez puts a hammer of a bat head on it right there, and it hits it right at the center fielder, Drew Stubbs.
So a big out for Homer. 2 outs in the inning. Manny will go back and take a seat, and here comes Casey Blake. Blake bounced out, struck out, popped up. Either way, Chris, you figure if he does get out of this inning, it'll be his last. He's now at 111 pitches on the night. Boy, what a night for number 34. He's been great. He's allowed only 7 hits. He struck out 6.
Well, you know, George, even in some of the games recently that Homer Bailey was beat around in, the 5 innings or 5 runs he gave up against the Giants in San Francisco, and then the other 5 runs he gave up against the Giants here in Cincinnati, he wasn't as bad as those numbers really indicate. But it's come together for him big time this evening.
No balls, 2 strikes.
And what he's learned how to do is pitch. That 90-mile-an-hour fastball that you see right there, that's not his splitter. I think that is a little two-seamer that he's throwing up there. So he's really developed 2 different kinds of fastballs, a splitter, a slider, and an occasional curveball.
1-2 to Blake. In case he hangs in there, we'll try it again. A ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's been chasing that pitch all night long. Blake likes the pitch up, but like all the Dodgers have found out, that fastball up from Homer Bailey gets on you a little quicker than it appears.
He's already gone a career high 7 2/3. He's now at a career high 115 pitches. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He'd love a decision right here with 2 away. Miller goes through the signs twice. Got him, got him. At a career high 7 strikeouts for Homer. Boy, he's at home at Great American tonight. A career high 8 innings. Dusty likes it, and these fans give him a standing ovation as the Reds lead it. Say hi to the dancing dog. Time for our John Morrell hot dog play of the night. Homer pitched well, but he also got some fine defense, like that great catch from Johnny Gomes. Gomes 3 hits on the night, including a homer, but that catch at Dandy tonight, our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. But this is a game, Chris, that belongs to that guy right there. He's sitting with the pitchers, Edinson Volquez, Johnny Cueto. They're all smiling for big number 34 after Dusty decides to leave him in, and he gets the job done.
Now, Dusty makes these decisions really based on what he sees in the eyes of the pitcher. And he saw in Homer Bailey the firm resolve to be able to come in and get out the 2 hitters that he needed to get out, including a perfect pitch to strike out Casey Blake on a called strike 3. Dusty likes it, and he takes a 4-0 lead to the bottom of the 8th.
Dusty will tell you he wants to look a man in the eye, whether it's a hitter after a good at bat or before a big at bat. And in that case, he had his eyes riveted on Homer's eyes. He saw what he wanted to see. He left him in, and Homer paid dividends. There we go to the bottom of the 8th. Ballantine will lead it off. Vladimir doubled, struck out, bounced out. Gomes, who has 3 hits, a homer, and 2 runs batted in on deck, and Corky Miller to follow. Cubs won 5-2 over the Mets. Greg gets the win. Tonight, St. Louis and Washington are tied 1-1 in the 6th. San Diego leads Florida 9-3 in the 7th. Philadelphia leading Atlanta 1-0. They're in the 3rd after rain there. Milwaukee leads Pittsburgh 8-4 in the 5th, and Houston and Arizona scoreless in the 1st. Later on, Colorado at San Francisco. Jimenez and Lincecum coming up. Big showdown in the wild card hunt. Moda gets a strikeout here in the 8th, and that'll bring up Johnny Gomes. Hey, help select the next Reds Hall of Famer now through September the 2nd. Be a part of the 2010 Reds Hall of Fame fan vote. Sponsored by CincyFavorites.com. Pick up a ballot at the ballpark at participating Skyline Chili or Montgomery locations, or log on to Reds.com/Hall of Fame and vote today. 1 away in the 8th. Here comes Johnny. What a night for Gomes. I mean, his biggest night of the year had to be the 3 home run night, but against this Dodger team, he's been immense tonight. You saw the great catch in right. First time up, he singled to left to give the Reds a 1-0 lead. Had a 1-out single in the 4th, was left stranded, and his leadoff homer in the 6th gave the Reds a 4-0 lead. Ball and a strike to Johnny. The Dodgers have some fine young arms and some veteran arms like this guy. 55th appearance for Moda. And talk about the long, lanky delivery and the arm that reaches about halfway to home. And this guy's out of that mold too.
Oh, there's no question. He throws hard, and he is not an easy guy to hit.
Going through a rough stretch of late, allowing 7 runs and 12 hits in his last 9 innings. One of those guys that you keep seeing early in his career and say, boy, this guy's destined to be a closer. Never did get to that point, but he still is a dart thrower out of the bullpen.
Yeah, really the only time he's ever saved any games. But he saved a few the first time he was with the Dodgers in 2003 and 4, and then a couple with the Florida Marlins.
And he'll regularly be right about there, 95, 96 miles an hour. As bad as he's been of late, with 7 runs in 9 innings. Before that, he went 20+ innings scoreless. So it's been the good and the bad. That's nasty. Back-to-back strikeouts, 2 away.
Well, he drops down and gets a little comeback action. We saw Homer Bailey do that. Looks like it's going to be off the plate. A little 2-seamer touches the outside corner. Nothing you can do about that except drag it on back to the pine.
Here's Corky. Walked, flied out, struck out. Down in the bullpen, Nick Massett continuing to loosen.
Well, not a safe situation with a 4-run lead by the Reds. So instead of running Francisco Cordero out there, maybe they'll give Massett a chance to put this one away.
Chris, update for you at the half. St. X 3, Coleraine nothing.
Wow, upset in the making.
Daddy Wags with his spyglasses looking out over the back of the ballpark. As seen, St. X has 122 yards total offense. Coleraine 55 yards.
A defensive battle of major proportion there.
Good job, Daddy Wags. We're going up to the top of the stadium, looking out the back. That's big. Just for your buddy Chris. Slider down and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Of course, I've got a serious bet on that game, George. I know it's probably unethical to bet on high school football, but I got a large 3-way with Gary Schatz riding on this one.
a skyline?
Oh, you bet. Yeah. Don't tell Schatz this, but I have a couple of Skyline coupons left over
I know
from the
that.
other night.
He knows that. He knows you too well. 3 balls, 2 strikes. You thought you did. I think Jesse just rifled through your wallet while you were looking. 3-2. And there's ball 4. So good at bat for Corky. He works a walk. And here comes Barker. Kevin Barker will pinch hit in the pitcher's spot, Bailey's spot. Kevin will come up for his 11th at bat. He's 2 for 10 coming in. So the numbers for Homer: 8 innings, 7 hits, no runs, a career high 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk, a career high 8 innings of work, and a career high 115 pitches. So a career high night for Homer in more than one way, and it's a high for the Reds and Reds fans. They lead it 4-0 here in the bottom of the 8th, and on the threshold of Homer winning 2 of the 5 straight games that the Reds have won. He started the streak with the impressive performance against the Pirates, 7 innings, 4 hits, and a run. Coming of age, isn't he? And this is what will baffle you about Guillermo Mota, Chris. There are times that he'll look so dominating, he strikes out 2 in a row, and then has trouble finding the strike zone.
I'd be tempted to green light Barker here. Don't know whether he had it or he just doesn't like the 3-0 pitch anyway.
3-1.
This guy's got plenty of power when he puts this fat part of the bat on it.
Left center, sink in. That's a base hit. 3-1 pitch banged into left center. Barker has a base hit, his 3rd since coming up from AAA. And back to the top of the order, Drew Stubbs. Now the Reds hit a wall about a week ago, playing maybe their worst baseball of the season. You wondered how they would react. Well, with new faces, young faces, Dusty telling them, we're not giving up. We're finding out who can play and who wants to play. And they're on the throes of winning their 5th straight. Here's Drew, flied out, singled in a run on a broken bat hit to center, popped up and struck out. Tomorrow the Reds will go to another AAA pitcher to come up. Matt Maloney will come up for the 2nd time. They'll go against Charlie Hager. That game will be on Fox Network. Tom Brenneman doing the game with Eric Karros. Then we're back on Sunday. Bronson Arroyo against Clayton Kershaw. On the air with Reds Live at 12:30. And the Buccos come to town. Doubleheader Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday. Reds still have 10 games left against Pittsburgh. 2 series here and 1 in Pittsburgh in the final 5 weeks of the season. That's another base hit into left. Rounding 3rd, staying there will be Miller. The bases are loaded. 2nd hit of the night for Drew Stubbs.
There are a lot of people that have questioned whether Drew Stubbs will be able to hit in the major leagues, but one thing he has done in the minor leagues, he has adjusted to every level of play where they put him. And I think he looks a little bit better and better all the time at the plate. I mean, I'm not ready to say that he's the next coming, but he's been very impressive. He's been pretty impressive and getting a little bit better each time.
Comes from great pedigree, both athletically and in terms of the University of Texas program that he came from. And Chris, you and I have talked about it. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Boone when Aaron came up through the Reds organization, and people questioned every step of the way, would he be able to hit at single A, double A, triple A, and at every level he struggled initially and then came back and hit, and that included the minor leagues. Walt Jocketty, Dusty Baker, and the Reds, and Reds fans getting a good long look at him here in the final 7 weeks of the season. Here's Giannis 0 for 4 coming up with the bases loaded here in the 8th. So Moto looked unhittable to the first 2 batters he faced. He struck out Valentin and Gomes. A walk, a base hit, and he's behind 1-0 to Giannis. Miller drew the walk. Barker singled to left center, and Stubbs singled to left. Popped up. Foul territory. Martin will haul it in. The Reds strand 3 here in the 8th, but last roundup time, in comes Massett with the Reds holding a 4-0 lead. To purchase, and don't miss any Reds baseball all season long. Changes for the Reds. Here comes the new pitcher Nick Massett, who will come in to try to hammer things down in the 9th inning, and Darnell McDonald will enter the game too. McDonald's in right, Stubbs in center, Valentin in left, Roland, Giannis, Phillips, Votto across the infield, and Corky Miller catching Nick Massett. Massett in for the Reds for the 53rd time this year. Now, so far tonight, the Reds haven't needed a bullpen that's been outstanding. I mean, usually when the Reds face a team, the one stat that they almost always have better numbers than the opposition is the bullpen. The Reds come in 3rd in the league with an ERA at 3.5. The Dodgers come in even better at 3.31. Certainly the backbone of the Dodgers pitching has been an outstanding bullpen. And for the Reds, the backbone of their team all year has been this bullpen. It's been there when they've needed it. Here's James Loney. Bounced out, flied out, bounced out, leading it off in the 9th.
Now, that's the one area of this ball club that has not sustained the kind of injuries that all the other areas
Yeah,
have.
you're right.
I mean, for some reason or another, they've stayed healthy down in that bullpen for the most part. And that's the key to it. I mean, if you have to continually bring guys up from the minor leagues or deal for other players from other organizations that might be fringe players, and stick them in the lineup from day to day, you're going to suffer. But that bullpen has pretty much stayed intact.
18 players, 20 appearances on the disabled list. Only the Mets have had more this year. That's the Reds story for 2009. Two balls, one strike. Martin on deck, Hudson to follow here in the 9th. Oh boy, that's hit a ton to right, going way back. That'll be halfway up and out of here. James Loney's 9th homer of the season, and the Dodgers are on the board here in the 9th. It's a 4-1 game.
There's nothing wrong with the speed of the fastball that Nick Massett throws, but sometimes he rears back and just tries to throw it instead of place that ball to a certain quadrant of the strike zone. That ball came back a little bit out over the inner third, and James Loney, a sweet swing of a left-handed hitter, knocks it on out of here. Fortunately, a solo shot. Dodgers will need 3 more of those to tie it up.
First pitch swinging, popped up. Votto back. Joey's there. Got it. 1 away. Martin retired. And it's so critical here. You see Wolfie talking to Loney. Randy Wolf, what a boon he's been to the starting rotation. So with Orlando Hudson, the switch hitter, coming up, and Dusty's going to go to the bullpen. Coco Cordero now with a 3-run game in a save situation. Coco's going to be on his way in, so while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Visit Ohio's largest playground.com/Reds for more info. Here's the info on the 9th inning. A home run by Loney's made it a 3-run game, so it's now a save situation, and here comes the big guy, Chris.
Looking for save number 239 on his career. It would be 29 for Francisco Cordero if he's able to convert this one. A 3-run lead, 2 outs to get, and the bottom of the Dodger order to work through.
No day off this week. Coco pitched Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Milwaukee. Tuesday he had a blown save, 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits. Wednesday the Reds won it 4-3. He picked up a save, and then on Thursday picked up a save there too with 1 inning of 2 walk, 1 strikeout work. 1 ball and 1 strike facing Orlando Hudson. Hudson 2 for 12 against Cordero.
Trying to look it up right now, George. He has pitched 3 consecutive days in a row earlier this year. I don't know if he's gone 4 days or not. You go all the way back to the 23rd at Pittsburgh. Picked up a save in that ball game and has only had 1 day off since then.
And Chris, this gets so critical in the 8th spot in the order because you turn the corner and you got Kemp, Ethier, and Ramirez coming up 2, 3, and 4. There's a number. Can anybody get there? Here comes the shortstop Yanish, and he got him. What a play by Yanish. He could only do it with a bare hand grab and a great arm. He had both of them.
Little by little, Paul Yanish is beginning to erase those doubters that aren't so sure that he can play defense every day in the major leagues. That's a dandy defensive play by the Red shortstop.
Brilliant play by Yanish. There's your 2nd out of the inning, and boy, Cordero says thank you very much. Another look at another angle that makes it look even more impressive.
And closer at first.
So 2 away, and here comes Mark Loretta, the veteran pinch hitter. Loretta will hit in the 9th spot in the order facing Cordero. Mark 2 for 3 in his career against Coco, and Reds fans up on their feet, as much for the guy who's sitting in the dugout and for the Reds as a group tonight. Bailey's pitched great, and they want Cordero to nail it down and give the Reds 5 in a row.
I know one Reds fan, George Camille Myers, 84 years old, spent 40 days in a coma, woke up to a Reds television game. Happy to be back and watching this one, and hopefully a Reds victory.
A big smile for her, a big smile for all of Reds country. We wish her the best.
From her daughters Karen and from her children Karen and Paul. And somebody loves you very much, Camille. You know who that is? Denise Thomas.
You got a good one. You got Denise in your corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The fans will take you through this one. 2 outs in the 9th. Looped into right. That'll drop in front of McDonald. So a base hit by Loretta. And he keeps the inning alive for the Dodgers. 2 outs, 1 on. And back to the top of the order, Rafael Furcal. And don't take it out of his playbook that he might drop another bunt down just to continue to get the tying run to the plate. Tonight, Furcal reached on a bunt hit, single to right. He's 2 for 4. That's a base hit to left. So now the tying run will come to the plate here in the 9th inning. And it's Matt Kemp. Furcal 3 hits on the night, 3 for 5. And here comes Kemp, who's 2 for 4.
Now this is certainly the guy that you want. Dusty Baker has seen this happen before. In fact, the last start that Bronson Arroyo had, he left the ball game after 7 innings leading 6-1. The Reds ended up winning that game, but they had to do extra innings to do so. 4 days in a row for Cordero, the first time since last year when Dusty used him early in July the same way.
Camp 2 singles, 2 for 4. He's 0 for 2 against Cordero in their matchups. That's low for a ball. The Reds built up a 4-0 lead on run scoring hits from Gomes in the second, Stubbs and Votto in the third, and a homer by Gomes in the sixth. All of that backing Homer Bailey's 8 innings, 7 hit shutout baseball. And now Cordero's trying to close it out after a 9th inning home run by Loney has made it 4-1. One ball, one strike. Trying to nip away at that down and away corner, misses, and it's 2-1. Camp's got power, you know that. 19 homers and 80 knocked in. Some kind of power for a number 2 hitter in the lineup. And it's 3-1. On deck, the 27 home run power of Andre Ethier, who's been quiet tonight, 0 for 3 and a walk.
Cordero staying away from Matt Kemp. Kemp not chasing those outside sliders.
Loretta for Cobb lead off. And we're 3-2 away, so the runners will be going.
Bad swing right there on a 3-1 count. He reached out for a pitch. It was marginally a strike. Likely to get the same pitch or the same location here. Cordero loves to pitch him down and away in situations like this.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. The Reds lead by 3, 4-1. That's high. It kicks off the glove of Miller. It'll be ball 4, and the bases are loaded. And here comes Andre Ethier, and that'll get Dusty up from his perch. Pacing in the dugout.
Now they've got nobody up in the bullpen, so this is all going to belong to Francisco Cordero.
Dusty and Dick talking it over. They're loaded, and here comes Andre.
Looked like Dick Paul was reaching for the bullpen phone.
Ethier against Cordero, 1 for 2.
A little late.
And you know about Ethier's story. He's got 5 walk-off hits this year, 3 of them home runs. So when the Dodgers have needed big hits, he's given it to Joe Torre. Carlos Fisher is now getting up and starting to loosen as Cordero drops behind 2-0.
He had a cut, but that ball placed very nicely just in off the plate by Francisco Cordero. Might not want to try that one again.
2 balls, 1 strike. They're loaded. And it's 2-2. Stay there again.
Well, they're feeding him down, but they're in off the plate.
What's made Ethier so much better a hitter of late is that he'll take that pitch away and go the other way. Who wins the guessing game? Does Cordero go outside, or does he come back in one more time? 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Coming in again. That's a line drive, but foul.
Now he's coming in there with a slider, and it's been a successful pitch in this at bat so far, trying to throw it down and in. This time he catches more of the plate than he has in any of the other pitches. But you see that ball on the inner part of the plate. That's a strike. Ethier with a good swing, but he can't keep it fair. He, like most of those home run hitters, likes to go out and get that ball, extend those arms.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Ooh. Fouls off the fastball, and we'll try it again. 2-2. With the 3 hits in the inning, the Dodgers now have 10 hits, the Reds 11. That's a swing and a miss, but the ball gets away from Miller. A run's going to score. The bases are going to be loaded.
He swung at a pitch that hit him in the foot.
Amazing. What else will Dusty see this year? It's a strikeout and a wild pitch. Take a look at this. It kicks off the left foot of Ethier. It'll go down as a strikeout. A run will score. Loretta trots home, and it's a 4-2 game. And guess who's coming up? It's Manny Ramirez.
I've seen a lot of things happen this year. That is a first.
It goes as a strikeout and a wild pitch. And here comes Manny. Cordero against Ramirez. Manny's 3 for 10 and 2 home runs. Now you had to figure that sooner or later it was going to come down to this, and it has again. Ramirez struck out, singled, flied out, lined out. He keeps it on him, down and in for a strike. 21 grand slams. The last one was at the expense of the Reds. It was a pinch hit grand slam in Los Angeles on Manny Ramirez bobblehead night in LA. One strike to Ramirez. That's a 92-mile-an-hour slider.
Yeah, you know what? That was well placed.
Active leaders, Manny's on that list. And at 2 strikes, he becomes dangerous still. No balls, 2 strikes. Coco to Ramirez. Dusty's doing the toe tap again. Another cliffhanger when it didn't look like he'd have one. A ball, 2 strikes to Ramirez. They're loaded in the ninth, and that's fouled off. Tried to check it, couldn't do it. Bailey had success up and in with 95, 96 mile an hour heat against Ramirez. That's where Coco was coming again. Still 1-2. Maybe 4 days in a row, Chris. He's still got some juice.
You know what? This is why you pay him the big bucks. Both of them.
What the game's about. The big closer against the big run producer. Still 1-2. And they're still loaded with Dodgers in a 2-run ball game. Got him. He got him. Manny Ramirez takes a call strike 3, and Coco Cordero makes it interesting in the ninth. But thanks to a great start for Homer Bailey, the Reds have a great night at Great American. Another look, and Dusty can finally take a deep breath.
Well, another